I met Christ as a young man at the Billy Graham Crusade in 1959. I grew up in the top end of the territory on stock camps and whatever. And I came down there anything but a Christian. But that night I met Christ. Radically changed my life. Took a few months for the change to become permanent. Well, it was permanent, but because my lifestyle was so unchristian, it took a while to work Christianity into me, to get rid of my violent anger that I had. I lost half my language when I became a Christian. It's very difficult dipping cows. I'd come out of the territory on a dairy farm, fattening property. And what do you say to a cow when they won't go through the dip? When you're a Christian, come on, you blessed cow, move into the dip. Before I became a Christian, I knew what to say to that cow. But now as a Christian, I didn't know what to say to that cow. Consequently, they didn't go through the dip easy. But then one big red cow stood on my instep. She weighed about 800 pounds, and all of my about 3-day-old Christianity left. I told that cow where she could go, got a stick, and those cows went through the dip. They knew me again. But thank God I don't do those sort of things anymore. I don't mean dipping cows, I mean getting angry and stuff. But you might be like that too. You might say, well, boy, I could never be a Christian. That's what I thought too. I thought I could never be a Christian. But I met Jesus that night, as clear as I'm meeting you. I had no idea what would happen, what it was to be a Christian. I had no idea that when I went home, he'd go with me. I just thought now I had to live for God. But it's not really so. He comes into your life by his Spirit, and he helps you enormously. I also thought that if I made a mistake and swore again, he'd leave me. But he didn't. He loved me anyhow. I found God was incredibly kind, incredibly patient with me, and amazingly understanding of me. He knew when he got me, he didn't get a prize, he got a headache. He should have got a packet of aspirin to go with me. And if he gets you tonight, he won't get a prize. He'll just get you. And he'll rejoice because you're who he wants. He loves you. When I was in the stock camps, he loved me. He loved me. One day we used to throw cattle, they were wild cattle, and you couldn't give them the Queensland roll, there was too much timber. So we'd leave our horse at a gallop and get them by the tail real quick. And they'd turn around to poke you. That part was usually right. And you could throw them at a certain spot. They were out of balance when they were turning, you know. So you could throw them. I started doing that when I was 14 years old. And we did that many times a day. But there was ones, if you miss them, they'll turn around and bail up, you know, and charge you. And we like to have a little tree if they were charging us, but if not, you use your hat and dodge them and grab them by the tail. And this big, barren, short-horned cow, big, speary horns, I missed her as I didn't sidestep just quick enough. She caught me under the armpit and lifted me up in the air. And without thinking, you've got no time to work things out like it happens fast. Without thinking, I yelled out, "Save me, Jesus, and I'll serve you the rest of my life." Aboriginal stockman came up at that point, and so she attacked him and left me and dropped me on the ground, and she went to kill him. And he got hold of her, and anyhow. So I had to reassert my manhood. So I used every blasphemous word I could. Just hoped he never heard me say that prayer. Like, I was amazed. I personally think Jesus heard that. And then when Billy Graham crusade, a few years later, he said, I'll cash that check in now. God is wonderful, you know. God is really nice. God is not difficult to know. Our believing may make it difficult. Our lifestyle might make it difficult. But God is not difficult. God has made it easy for us to walk with him. But if you think I've got to be really, really good for God to talk to me, that can be difficult. So we can make it difficult, but God didn't make it difficult. God loves you and he loves me. He loves us not because we're good, certainly not because we're bad, because he loves us. Anne and I have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. I don't love them because they're good, and I sure don't love them because they're bad. I love them because they're ours. I'm God's. You're God's too. God is your creator. He loves you, and if you'll let him, that love will come on the inside. You have to let somebody love you. No matter how much they love you, unless you let it on the inside, it doesn't help you. And anyhow, just those few remarks. I hope tonight that your faith will rise for Jesus Christ to help you in whatever situation you find yourself. And I'll be speaking to that end. That you will feel in your heart, I trust, I could reach up to God. God could touch me. God could heal my body. God could help me in this situation or that. God could help me in my home, whatever it might be. I hope that will be the result of our talking tonight.